Which misconception would you like to debunk? Touching a baby bird is not going to cause its mother to abandon it. An old wives' tale designed to stop kids messing with young chicks has now caused a generation of people to pass on this old belief without ever being corrected. Yes, if you see a baby bird on the ground, chances are its mother kicked it out to teach it to fly or something. But if you need to cut the grass, mow the lawn, you can lift it and put it back in its nest. Its mother isn't going to abandon it just because you touched it. That's like thinking a human mother would abandon a baby because a cat rubbed its butt on it. The nurse touched my baby. He is a daddy now. I work at a store that sells work boots with safety toes. Please don't propagate the myth that you need to go a size up to make space for the toe. You want that thing as snug as possible, without your toes touching the safety toe. Loose means you move, and your toes will bump against the safety toe. You are the reason all my customers have fricked up toes. Mind your business. My right foot has a hammer toe from this nonsense. Walking around on concrete in boots that are too big for years screwed up my feet a bit. There is no such thing as aircraft grade aluminum. It's just a marketing scam. We use many different grades and tempers depending on the application. Abraham Lincoln's famous log cabin was not built during his lifetime. This was built 30 years after his death by entrepreneur Alfred Bennett. There is no specific Plymouth Rock, but there is an enshrined rock that someone basically picked out and people pilgrimage to. Most boring landmark ever. I was barred from participating in a school swimming race because I ate some chocolate beforehand and a teacher caught me. She said I would get a cramp and die and I had to wait 20 minutes. Even 8-year-old me knew it was complete twaddle. Your teacher had money on another kid. When you have an IV cannula inserted, a needle is used to insert the cannula, but then the needle is removed and you're left with a tiny thin plastic tube in the vein. I think 50% of my patients don't realize there's not a needle in their arm for hours, days on end. Explain that to everyone when you do it. I had an IV and the nurse mentioned it immediately and said I can't move my arm. If she didn't say that, I would have assumed I couldn't move my arm. I work as a ride operator at Disneyland, and please just let me say this. The purple teacup doesn't spin any faster than the rest of them. Please stop getting into fights over it. Freaking idiots. Everyone knows the green is fastest because green means go. Ted Bundy's looks isn't how he was able to lure women. It was a numbers game with him and he asked many girls to help him out, and many refused. But of the many, all he needed was one to help. The ones that walked away later reported him, saying he gave off a creepy vibe. A proposal to make German the official language of the United States of America was defeated in Congress by 1 vote. It's easily debunked by common sense. Seriously, why would they do this? And congressional records. The myth likely comes from the fact that a proposal to adjourn and discuss at a later time a petition to have laws translated to German for German-speaking residents was defeated by 1 vote. I've never heard this, but German was very popular before the 1900s and many major cities sold German newspaper alongside English. Flushable wipes aren't flushable. Toilet paper breaks down easy in water, but you ever seen a baby wipe rip up? Those things just end up clogging pipes and ruining the sewers. Heck, New York, sorry, London, my bad, found a huge mass of those things, along with a bunch of other junk, the size of a bus in the sewers thanks to those wipes. If I recall correctly, makers of those wipes are allowed to call them flushable if they can get around the U-bend and out of the pipes of your home. Once they're in the sewer, what happens to them isn't considered a problem as far as the labeling is concerned, which leads to a lot of people thinking they're fine to flush, or at least those that care about those sorts of things in the first place. The teddy bear was named for a bear that Theodore Roosevelt spared on a hunting trip. However, he didn't exactly spare it and it wasn't exactly out of mercy. There was a professional trapper tracker hunter dude with him whose job was to find a bear for him to kill. However, the bear he found was so pathetic looking that Roosevelt just didn't think it worth his effort. The trapper dude just cut its neck open instead. And Teddy Roosevelt hated being called Teddy. The boiling frog experiment that's quoted everywhere didn't work. For those not familiar, it is said that you can boil a frog to death by raising the temperature of the water it's in extremely slowly so that it doesn't notice. Well, it only works when parts of the frog's brain are removed. A frog with an intact brain will jump out, no matter how slowly the water is heated. I haven't met too many people who believe this. I do live in New England though, but nobody was burned at the stake during the Salem witch trials. 19 people were hung, and 1 man was pressed to death, but nobody was burned. More weight. My room and car being a mess doesn't prove I don't have OCD. In fact, if I didn't have it, it'd be easier to get things like cleaning done. Also, being tidy doesn't mean you have OCD. Giving a cat milk is a very bad idea. Most cats are lactose intolerant and giving them milk will cause stomach problems. We could always force evolution by only giving them milk. That to be sick you have to look sick. There are a lot of people with chronic illness that don't need to deal with skepticism along with their symptoms. I'm touched that people are sharing their struggles. I hope others will read them and understand a little more. Which means if you see someone in a handicapped parking space with proper tags but they don't look sick, just leave them alone. That something needs to be direly wrong in your life before you should see a therapist. You can gain so much from therapy, even if you're not critically distressed. The best description of therapy anyone ever gave me was it's like a personal trainer but for your brain. That really helped me look at it differently. There isn't a dead body being transported on all or most commercial airlines. Seriously, what airline or airport has all these corpses going back and forth? I work the ramp at O'Hare. I might see a corpse being transported once a month and maybe handle one once a year. Now if you ever see the fire department and police lined up at a plane coming into a gate, not following the plane as if it was an emergency, chances are there is a fallen service member or someone notable that is being transported to their final resting place. Babies placed for adoption at birth in the US do not go into foster care. There's a waiting list at least 36 people long for each newborn placed for adoption. That's why it's expensive. That's why people go overseas to adopt. I was adopted at birth but was with a foster family for about a month. Don't know why. Birth mom didn't second guess the adoption, but my birth dad did. They weren't together. Just found out this year he wanted to raise me. I'm 28. Most psychological disorders don't present like the media would lead you to believe. See also, what therapy looks like. ETA. Holy crap. Gold. I had a quick break in my day to finally hop on Reddit and was not expecting this response. You'll make this severely overworked community mental health therapist so glad we're talking more about the realities of therapy and various disorders. I'm planning on getting back on when I'm done with work to reply to some comments, answer some questions. The myth. Napoleon was really short. The truth. He was actually average height, or even a little bit above average height. How did it come about? The archaic French measurement used stated he was around 5'3", when in actuality that translates to about 5'7" in today's measurements, which was average for the time. Circa means approximately, not just back in the year of. Only use it when it's not known exactly when something happened. I doubt anyone on Reddit is young enough to still believe this crap, but God knows I did for the longest time. Turning on the light in the backseat of the car while your parents are driving is not illegal. My mom lied to me for my entire life and it literally took me looking like an idiot in someone else's car to figure out I had been scammed. I was told it blinded them and they couldn't see the road. My aunt tried to pull the illegal thing with me though. That few people lived past their 30s in the Middle Ages or some other ancient era. This misconception arises because of an automatic and incorrect assumption people make when they hear the statistic the average life expectancy was 35 in the Middle Ages. In reality, there have always been lots of people who lived to 70 plus years old in all societies. The difference was that in the Middle Ages there were many childhood diseases that caused a much higher childhood mortality rate, which skews the numbers much lower. If you survived childhood, there was a very good chance you would make it into your 60s plus. I think there's another misconception about this misconception that people regularly live just as long as they do today. We still live longer than in the past, but not as extreme as it seems when looking at an average. Puff the Magic Dragon is not about pot. Peter Yarrow, the writer of the song, has gone on record multiple times that it is not a song about marijuana, calling it sloppy research and that it's only ever been about the loss of innocence in children. Fresh fruits and vegetables are necessary to eat healthy. Frozen can even be superior, and canned produce saved countless lives over the years. Fresh produce is also responsible for the largest share of produce food waste because it has higher appearance standards and shorter shelf lives. A lot of people seem to think that Easter Island is a great environmental fable. A small island, almost the most remote place on Earth, cut down all of their trees to build giant head statues, resulting in the collapse of their society and extinction. Except that native Easter Islanders didn't go extinct. They're still there. The collapse of their society was precipitated by slavers, who took most of the population, anybody who could read, basically, in the written language they had invented, to work on the west coast of South America. Also, a lot of those heads are full bodies that have sunk into the sandy soil. And the real problem with Easter Island vegetation wasn't that they cut all the trees. Rats were the problem. The tiny remote island has little biodiversity and the rats were brought in by outsiders. The rats ate the young trees that grew, chewing the base and killing it. There were so many rats no new trees could grow. At least I'm pretty sure. You don't have OCD because you like things organized or clean. OCD is horrible and debilitating, and it's a lot less fun than feeling satisfied when things are organized. Additionally, you don't have bipolar disorder because you occasionally are moody. You don't have depression because sometimes you're a little sad. You don't have anxiety because you get stressed during normal, stressful periods, etc. It isn't just frail old people who have to deal with continence issues. I'm 24, able-bodied, mentally sound and have a career. I also have complete UI and near complete FI. The acronyms correspond to bodily functions. You can guess which. We don't know why, and I'm not likely to get shot of it anytime soon. Last time I was a loudmouth about a condition I have, it helped fellow sufferers. So I've decided I'm going to do it with this, as much as possible, within the safety of Reddit. Plate armor did not prevent the user from getting up or climbing on a horse. The armor weighed 25 kilograms, and longswords were dull bashing weapons. Curing cancer isn't going to be a single eureka moment and bam, cancer is gone forever. There are tons of different types of cancers, with different genetics and epigenetics playing into how they develop. There seem to be people out there who think Big Pharma is sitting on some magical cure that they're holding out on because they want to sell treatments. To even suggest that there's one catch-all cure is so reductive of what cancer is. It's not really one disease. It's tons of different ailments with different symptoms that happen to share some commonalities in the way the cells divide and spread. Freaking thank you. The amount of people I've just wanted to slap in the back of the head for saying I know they have a cure gives me nightmares. Diamonds aren't actually as rare as they are made out to be. They are severely overpriced and just made to seem super expensive. Next you'll tell me WWE is fake. George Washington Carver didn't invent peanut butter. Sorry, Black History Month. It was a white Canadian bloke 50 years prior. Still, Carver did a lot of cool stuff with peanut cultivation. That low testosterone levels make a man effeminate or emotional or gay. Not how it works. Low testosterone makes a man apathetic and unmotivated. That going in an ambulance to the OR will get you seen faster. It won't. Unless you are actively dying. You do not suddenly get put on a higher priority list. Stop calling 911 for bulls. Thanks. Signed, an EMT. I know I'm late to the party, but here's a few facts about medication for mental health. 1. Medication alone rarely cures a mental health condition. For real recovery you also most likely need talk therapy for psychological rewiring and coping skills, as well as environmental changes like better support system, less stress, etc. Don't treat medicine like a cure-all. 2. Recovery can be the complete elimination of symptoms, or it could be managing symptoms in a way that you're able to live, laugh, love, and play without significant hardship. Not all treatment equals total reduction of symptoms, but it is possible. 3. Most mental health medicines take about 2 weeks to begin working, and you will feel worse during those 2 weeks as your body-brain adjusts. If you're still feeling bad after 2 weeks, tell your doctor. 4. Medicine is not supposed to make you feel like a zombie or like you're not yourself, except maybe during those first 2 weeks. If you're feeling that way, then either the medicine or the dosage isn't right for you. Medicine allows you to feel more like yourself. The Dark Ages, a term originally coined in the 1800s to describe around 700–1200 AD, was supposedly a period of retarded technological development and leaving limited archaeology or historical material behind. Even now the very term conjures up images of a period in history where our knowledge is very limited. But you don't have to research that hard today to see it's total nonsense, and it was actually an era very rich in science, art, development, trade etc. Male primary school teachers and kiddie fiddlers. We're teachers. Stop looking at me like I'm a convicted pedophile, Karen. I'd like to add to this that female teachers that sleep with their male students are creeps just like their male counterparts. The news media needs to stop painting female pedophiles as being the victims, or worse, the heroes of these events. I was sexually abused by a woman growing up, and it's just not right. Ain't is a word. It's short for am not and is older by several decades than isn't. It's not slang or made up or inherently incorrect. Tomatoes are legally vegetables. While scientifically they are considered fruits, some importers tried to dodge the tax on veggies by saying they were fruits, and then the Supreme Court stepped in and was like, no. That we only use 10% of our brains. We use all of our brains. Source: I'm a neuroscientist, MD PhD, who uses brain imaging techniques to study brain activity. I have no idea how this misconception got started. We know what behaviors almost all regions of the brain are involved in, although the specific details of each are the focus of much neuroscience research. There are literally no regions of the brain that are never used in a normal healthy brain. Corollary to this, we do not have right-left sides of our brain that are creative math-oriented, respectively. The majority of our two brain hemispheres control identical functions for the opposite side of the body, that is, right hemisphere motor center controls left hand movement. There are a few regions that appear to be different between the hemispheres, and the differences in the lateralized roles of those regions is still not fully known. For example, language production regions, or very controversial, for example, regions involved in attentional control. Telling kids to use their right brains in art class makes no sense. Rant. Depressed people don't feel sad. The most common feelings when depressed are numbness, nothingness and extreme boredom. Things that used to feel fun and exciting are now just boring. The public misconception that depression means feeling sad all the time pisses me off, because people spend months or years wondering what's wrong with them instead of seeking professional help. Don't forget anger. People always sweep that one under the rug. Tax brackets are progressive, technically called marginal. Progressive tax means something a bit different in the US, so if you jump up a tax bracket, only the money you make above the previous bracket is taxed at the higher rate. A 70% tax bracket doesn't mean your whole income is taxed at 70%, just whatever you make over the threshold. Also, estate tax. If you have a normal house and wouldn't refer to your home and motley possessions as an estate, then that tax probably isn't about you. I have a friend who decided not to work any more overtime 1 year because it would be in the next tax bracket. It's fine if you don't want to do overtime, but I still think losing an extra 5% on it is better than not getting anything extra. Misconception: no pain, no gain. Explanation: from a fitness perspective, you don't need to be in pain after a workout to have gained progression. I hear a lot of people say that if you're not in pain after a gym session, then you're not working hard enough. That couldn't be further from the truth. While it is normal to feel some kind of pain or DOMS, delayed onset of muscle soreness, the days following a gym workout, just because you're not in any pain doesn't mean you're not making progressions or getting gains. Quite often people are mistaking standard muscle soreness for actual injury too. Oh man, it's been a week and I'm still feeling it from that short HIIT workout. Yeah, that may possibly mean you worked way too hard for what your body can handle. If you work within your capabilities and not go gung-ho towards your workout, then you will be well on your way to some change. Training too hard too early isn't healthy and you're actually putting yourself at risk of injury. You push yourself when your body is ready for it, not when your ego is. Sikhs are Muslims. We are a completely different religion. Just because you saw Bin Laden with a turban does not mean we are the same. There are many differences, for example, the shape style of our turban. We don't cut our hair. We wear a steel bracelet, etc. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.